We are taught from a young age to fear the darkness. We're taught to lock our doors, to avoid shadowy alleyways, and to never talk to strangers. We imagine the monster as something distinct, something jagged, disheveled, and obviously wrong. A creature that lives on the fringes of society. But what if the monster isn't lurking in the alley? What if the monster is the man standing next to you in line at the grocery store? What if he's the guy who installs your home security system? The Cub Scout leader teaching your son how to tie a knot? The president of the church council? This is the story of a city held hostage by fear for 3 decades. It is the story of a police force chasing a ghost. But mostly, it is the terrifying reality of Dennis Rader, a man who meticulously built a mask of sanity so convincing that when it finally slipped, it didn't just break a community, it shattered our understanding of human nature. Wichita, Kansas. The heart of the American Midwest. In the 1970s, it was the kind of place where people left their back doors unlocked. It was a hub for the aviation industry, a place of hard work and quiet family life. That innocence died on January 15, 1974. Inside a white, single-story house on North Edgemoor Street, the Otero family, Joseph, Julie, and 2 of their children were found bound and strangled. It was a crime scene of such calculated brutality that seasoned detectives were physically ill. There was no forced entry. No robbery. Just pure, unadulterated malice. And the most chilling part. The killer walked away into the winter air, disappearing back into the fabric of the city. He didn't flee the state. He didn't go into hiding. He went home. Most killers killed to silence their victims. This one killed to be heard. Months after the Otero murders, a letter arrived at the Wichita Public Library. It was found inside an engineering textbook. The letter detailed the crime scene with information only the killer could know. But it wasn't a confession of guilt, it was a boast. He wrote about a factor X that controlled him. He gave himself a name, a twisted brand identity that would haunt Kansas for 30 years. Kind. Torture.kill.BTK. Between 1974 and 1977, the phantom struck again and again. Catherine Bright. Shirley Vian. Nancy Fox. He targeted women in their homes. He cut phone lines. He stalked them like a hunter. And after each kill, he would return to his life. The police were desperate. They launched the Ghostbusters Task Force. They interviewed thousands. They looked for drifters, ex-cons, social outcasts. They were looking for a monster. They didn't realize that while they were hunting a monster, the killer was likely complaining about property taxes or discussing the local school board election. Because Dennis Rader wasn't a drifter. He was a graduate of Wichita State University. He was a veteran. He was, by all accounts, boring. Aggressively normal. While the city of Wichita locked their windows and bought guns to protect themselves from BTK, BTK was installing home security systems for ADT. Let that sink in. The man terrorizing the city was the same man people paid to protect them from him. He knew the alarms. He knew the fears. He fed on them. Then, something unexpected happened. The killing stopped. Or at least, the public displays stopped. After a final murder in the mid-80s, BTK went silent. Years turned into decades. The Ghostbusters Task Force was disbanded. Cold case files gathered dust. A new generation grew up in Wichita knowing BTK only as a campfire story, a bogeyman from their parents' era. But Dennis Rader hadn't left. He was busier than ever. During this dormant period, the monster fully integrated himself into the community pillar. He became a Cub Scout leader, teaching ethics and survival skills to children. He was elected president of the church council at Christ Lutheran Church. He took a job as a compliance officer for Park City, a suburb of Wichita. His job was to enforce the rules. If your grass was too high, if your dog was loose, if your car was parked wrong, Dennis Rader was there to fine you. Neighbors hated him not because they suspected he was a serial killer, but because he was an arrogant, petty bureaucrat. He was the neighbor who would measure your lawn with a ruler just to write you a ticket. He loved power. Whether it was the ultimate power of life and death, or the petty power of a homeowners association citation, it was all the same to him. This is the terrifying camouflage of the psychopath. We expect chaos. Rader gave us rigid order. We expect a loner. Rader gave us a family man. He hid behind the very laws he was breaking. By 2004, the 30th anniversary of the Otero murders, the story was fading. A local newspaper ran a retrospective piece, implying that BTK was likely dead or in prison. And that is what Dennis Rader could not tolerate. He could handle the silence. He could handle the secrets. But he could not handle being irrelevant. The letters started coming again. Cryptic puzzles. Cereal boxes filled with dolls bound in rope. Driver's licenses of victims he had never claimed before. BTK was back. He wanted credit. He wanted to tell the world, I am still here. But the world had changed since 1974. Technology had advanced. Rader, however, was stuck in the past. In a communication with police, he asked a question, can a floppy disk be traced? The police, seeing an opening, lied. They placed a newspaper ad saying, no, a floppy disk is safe. It cannot be traced to a specific computer. Rader believed them. He sent a purple floppy disk to a local TV station. Police immediately analyzed the disk. They didn't find fingerprints, they found digital DNA. Embedded in the metadata of a deleted Microsoft Word document were two crucial pieces of information. The document was last modified by a user named Dennis. And it had been saved at Christ Lutheran Church. It took police less than a day to connect the dots. A quick Google search for Dennis and Christ Lutheran Church led them to one man. On February 25, 2005, Dennis Rader was driving home from the office. He saw the police lights. He didn't run. He knew the game was over. The interrogation was almost as shocking as the crimes. Rader didn't lawyer up. He didn't stay silent. He talked. For hours. He described his brutal murders with the same monotone, casual demeanor one might use to describe a fishing trip or a grocery list. He expressed no remorse. He was only upset that the police had lied to him about the floppy disk. He felt he was the one who had been betrayed. When the news broke, the community of Park City collapsed. The Cub Scouts he led, the churchgoers he greeted every Sunday, the neighbors he fined for tall grass they had to reconcile to impossible realities. The man they knew, and the monster he was. Dennis Rader is currently serving 10 consecutive life sentences. He will die in prison. But the scar he left remains. We like to think we can spot danger. We rely on instinct. But predators like BTK prove that evolution hasn't caught up to the modern psychopath. They don't hide in caves. They hide in plain sight. They hide in suits, in uniforms, and in the pews of our churches. So, tonight, when you lock your doors and check your alarm system, take a look out the window. That neighbor waving at you from across the street. You probably know his name. You might know his job. But do you really know who he is? Thanks for watching.